Hello! Greetings and salutations, fellow nerds. Welcome to Oddcast. I'm Joe, this is CN, and today we're going to talk about Willow. The television show, not the movie from the 80s. Not the movie, the television show, the one that just finished. It just wrapped up. We're going to talk about that Willow. So if you've seen the movie but haven't seen the show, now's your chance to go, because we want to dive right into what it got right, what it got wrong, and I actually want to talk about how I think Taika Waititi and Thor Ragnarok and Thor Love and Thunder is part of some changes in fantasy and sci-fi that I don't necessarily like. I guess let's start things off on a positive note. What is it? What did you, Sam, like about Willow?
To be honest, not a whole lot. I would say what I liked about Willow was the nostalgia aspect of it. Of course, that's everybody's go-to when it comes to any kind of new series from a beloved movie.
Yeah.
The nostalgia aspect I enjoyed. I enjoyed Warwick Davis coming back to play Willow. I enjoyed the music. I enjoyed the scenery. About it.
Okay, so I enjoyed okay, so I just want to say this. The first two episodes are fantastic. Like, they're great. And
yeah, I agree.
I would honestly say I think the season finale also not bad.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But
I concur.
So to get from those 2 points to point C, though, is kind of weird. And we're going to get into that in a minute.
It's really tough.
I thought the acting was really good. Yes. I thought that bringing back original characters and mixing them in, cool, I'm down. I thought the world building was decent. Decent's a good way. Yeah, that's a good term, I think. Decent is a good word for the world building, because they took a world, of course, that we're already familiar with, because I can't speak for you personally, but I know that I've watched the original Willow at least probably around 75 times in my lifetime. I wasn't like, oh man, I got to really prep for that video on Willow. I should really watch that movie. No, I didn't do that. That's a lot. That's like every time Paige is like, oh, there's a Lord of the Rings things coming. I need to watch all 10 hours of the original trilogy to make sure that I remember every piece. I'm just kidding. She doesn't do that all the time. But there are some things where she does do that. But I thought bringing them back was kind of fun. And I thought, like, every time that they hit, like, the small dose of nostalgia, I was okay with it. The musical scoring, I'm gonna make a distinction there. The musical score, excellent. I thought it was good. I would be willing to listen to that on vinyl or on a CD.
I do like how you said that, though, the distinction.
The characters, meaning the core group of 6, right? The D&D adventuring party. And it does start, of course, as 7. And technically there's 8, but like the core 6, we've got our bard, we have our fighter rogue, we've got our barbarian rogue, the paladin, the wizard, and then the cleric druid. We've got them. I thought they were great, but by far the best steal away character from this whole damn thing is Boromon. I don't think anybody's going to argue the point that Boromon is the strongest of all 6 of those characters. Dude, and I don't just mean...
He is the Mad Mardigan of this series.
Yeah. But like every time he's on, you want to hear what he's going to say next. You know what it's like? And I didn't think of this equivalency until just now. It's like when Spike became part of Buffy the Vampire Slayer as a recurring character. Like, he wasn't there all the time, and you liked the other characters, but when he was there, it had that added punch of like, this is great.
Borman was definitely... Yeah, I agree with you. Like I said, when I was watching the series, I was like, dude, Borman is my new Mad Mardigan. He had wit, he had comedic punch, he had wit, and he can fight. So like, he was an all around great character. Great character.
I think Amar Chadha-Patel did great. Like, he's a fantastic actor, and in all honesty, there's enough Marvel people in this project. I really would not mind seeing him make the transition into the MCU or 100%. Even into Star Wars. 100%. I want to see him in more stuff because he did such a great job. Like, he just delivers his lines with the confidence. It's great. I thought Christian Slater showing up, pretending to be Mad Mardigan, I thought that was a great thing. I was like, oh, And the minute that he showed up, I was like, I know him, but I don't know him. And then I was like, oh, it's Christian Slater. I do know him. I know that dude.
It took me a second too. I think the eye patch thing, he's dirty. I was like, the voice was familiar though. When he was talking, he was laying down. I was like, why do I recognize that voice? Why do I recognize that voice?
I was like,
who is that?
I was like, oh, I know this. No, wait, who is that? And I think the problem is that like I haven't seen him in so long that then when he showed up, I was like, oh, cool, totally on board with that. So I thought that was fun. Yeah. All of the like mini adventures that they got put on, cool. I thought some of the subversions to expectations, also good twists. Those are the things that I liked about Willow. Also, unlike Lord of the Rings, they didn't spend all their time walking.
Thank God.
They had horses and they had a mud salamander for a while.
Or going on a camping trip.
Yeah, Mudmander. That's what it was. But typical D&D adventure, cool, I'm on board. Oh, I'm sorry. Typical D&D adventure before OGL 1. So Disney, watch out. D&D's coming for you. Now let's get into what I think both you and I are going to be in the same boat. So, and we're not alone. So I never say it right. The Rotten Tomatoes meter thing, is it the tomato meter? Yeah, whatever. However you say that word. It's at 54%, which actually, and that's for audience scores. The average is 80-something%. And I'm like, what? Were they watching the same thing that I was?
Wait, the 80-something was critics?
Yeah. The 54 was the audience. Like, there's a disconnect there, and it's not even a disconnect that went the way that I thought it would. I thought it was going to be, like, the reverse. And I was going to be like, is this going to be an Avatar Way of Water thing again? Where, like, I'm the odd man out. By the way, if you haven't watched that video, now's your opportunity. Link in the description. But, no, it wasn't that. Instead, the thermometer... Tomato, I can't.
I'll just say tomato meter.
Yeah, 54%. IMDb, 5.4 out of 10. So apparently the audience is just over the threshold of this is not good. So,
and I think that's for the nostalgic. I think they're adding that bump for nostalgic factor.
It might be. So I would honestly say that if I were going to rate it, I'd probably put it in like the 60th percentile. I don't think that it was awful. However, I do think that they got some things wrong. And I'm going to let you open that up. What was the biggest thing that you thought was the problem?
All right. The one thing that was a little jarring was the music at times. The music during some of the action sequence, it was just weird. It was, you and I have talked about this on other shows where they'll take modern music and put like a cool little spin to it, where it's like a cover, but it's a really cool cover. They tried that with this show, and it just did not work.
Yeah, sometimes totally pays off. Paint It Black in Wednesday. Totally on board. That was good. Cello cover. Yeah. It was dark. It fit the motif of what was going on. And it doesn't happen every time. Sometimes the song that they choose matches. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm on board with that. However, because they didn't have pop music in the old movie, putting it into the new show, I was like, what's happening here? It'd be like if Lord of the Rings was like, oh man, you know what would make Rings of Power really cool? If we put a whole bunch of Green Day songs in it. And everybody'd be like, but why? And you'd be like, okay, Green Day, not what you were looking for. My Chemical Romance is going to be the theme of Mordor. And you're going to be like, what? Why? Why even bother? Like, so sometimes, and I think what it was, and you can tell me I'm wrong. Do you remember in Suicide Squad, not the Suicide Squad, but Suicide Squad?
Yeah.
They kept trying to do like the stupid needle drop moments where it's like, and here's a song, boom, needle drop. Here's another song, boom, needle drop. Is that what you were
referring to when you said the whole Thor Love and Thunder aspect where like they try to do the needle drop to...
Yeah, no. So if I was going to do the needle drop thing, that's a James Gunn thing. James Gunn has heavily influenced this idea of like, oh, you know what'd be great? What if we like put a song in? However, people who do Willow, you're not James Gunn. You didn't choose the right song every time, and sometimes it was really weird. Like,
it was odd.
Having the final end credit music be I Want My MTV, I was like, what? Why this song? Like, Money for Nothing? No. That's an awful song to choose for, like, the end of the show. Like, something dark and broody? Yeah, maybe. maybe cover AC/DC. I don't know. Highway to Hell probably would have been a better choice, but like you went with this weird version of Money for Nothing, and I was like, you didn't even choose a song that I like. I already disliked that song, and then it was there, and I was like, what's happening right now?
It was just so jarring, and I didn't know where to place it. Like at the end of every title sequence, it's some twist of a song or a modern day song. I was just like, all right, next.
Yeah. So, and that is what I think the big problem was of this show. And this is where I said that it comes into Thor Love and Thunder territory, which we did a review of that, link in the description. So during Thor Love and Thunder, you'll remember that the biggest problem that we, I think, all kind of shared was that it didn't know what it was.
Yes.
Like, the tonal shifts were all over the place, but like for no reason. And it forced me to like, so if you watch the show, and guys, inside story, come on, inside baseball, here we go. I watched Transformers 1 for the second time, and I brought a napkin and a pen, and everybody was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm going to write down all the problems that I have with this movie on this napkin. And I ran out of space on the napkin. Now, we're not Cinema Sins, so I'm not going to be like everything Willow got wrong, but the tonal shifts became this thing where like, I started to write a list of like, what are some things that shifted weirdly that I did not appreciate? Here's one. You brought back the brownie. Cool. Why were the brownies living in modern day?
What do you mean by modern day?
The girl was wearing a rock and roll t-shirt for a band that she liked, and the guy was standing in a robe in an apartment condo telling Willow that he couldn't go on the adventure.
So, I didn't pick up on that. I need to go back and watch that scene.
Yeah,
but I didn't pick up on that. But
his daughter's totally wearing a band shirt. I was like, what?
But what I did pick up on was the fact that their house was in a prison. I was like, why is their house in a cell? And they had no qualms about it. Like, they didn't give two shits about it. I was just like, okay. But I think primarily for me, the biggest disappointment for me about this entire show in general is that it's not a Willow show or Willow
Correct.
show. It's not. They should have called it the Battle of Crone or
they really relied heavily on the namesake just to get you in the door.
Yeah. And it's not. And when I think back on it, Willow was about Willow becoming who he was, becoming who he's meant to be, and the trials and tribulations throughout his mission to save Allura.
Yeah.
The series carried the name and then just focused on everybody else but Willow.
Yeah. It was like it would be like watching a Yoda television show only to follow Obi-Wan instead. So it was just this weird thing that happened. And actually, and that brings me, and this continues the tonal shift of like why I have some problems. So the very thing that I loved about the first two episodes, which is Call to Adventure happens and they are off to the races. At the start of every episode, I felt like we had missed an episode. They'd be like, we're going to travel the dangerous road. And then you would start the next episode and be like, man, that road that we just were on was really dangerous. And he'd be like, what? But we didn't even show the road. What are you talking about? And like, they did that a bunch to where it was like, I felt like I had DID and my other personality must have just watched that part of the episode. And then when my other personality took control, it was like, I feel like I missed something. Let's rewind. But it wasn't there. It was never there. Like, and it just happened a lot. I did not like smart trolls.
Yeah, that was jarring too, especially when the leader started talking. I was like, wait, what's going on here?
I was like, what? Is Joss Whedon writing this episode?
Now, answer me this question, because I might be wrong. Those trolls were the same trolls that when they died transformed into that Hydra, right?
No. So remember that the Hydra is the result of Cylindria's wand being used to kill the trolls and Willow not knowing what he was doing.
Okay, yes. Okay. All right, yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Then those were still the same trolls.
They were the same. That's where they were supposed to be. Now remember, the brownies live in an advanced culture, so maybe maybe that little bubble thing, like that was protecting the kingdom, was keeping them in the Middle Ages. Maybe it's like the Thundercats cartoon, where like, you know, there's one super advanced civilization and everybody else is living in the Dark Ages. Or no, sorry. Everybody else is super advanced and there's one civilization that controls everything that's in the Dark Ages for some reason. Or
like He-Man.
Yeah, I was stuck with like this weird conundrum of like, okay, you're living in a world of Game of Thrones and Rings of Power, and you're in the same thing, but you're not in the same thing. You're doing like your own thing, and I'm kind of okay with that, but like, the way he did it was just not great. Okay, so here's another one. Elora Danan's hair starts just randomly changing color in the last 2 episodes, and I was like, this is distracting. Why is her hair blonde and red? Like, what? Pick a lane, Elora Danan.
I had to mid-episode, I had to go grab my phone, and I was like, did they change the actress? And I did not realize it. So I Googled it. I was like, did they just randomly change the actress? Because it looked drastically different. I was just like, something's off. Something's off.
They kept changing her hair color, and I was like, did I miss a storyline part that like this is a thing? Also, and this I think is really telling of like the storytelling aspect of the show. Our friend Nick tried to watch it, and I told him that I was like, it was a week ago, so it was the penultimate episode had just happened, and I was like, it's pretty good. And he was like, but is Willow a wizard or a sorcerer or not? And I was like, I mean, kinda. Because the beginning of the show is like, he's pretending, but then towards the end of the show, he's got like Yoda powers, and you're like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing. All right, now, and this also buys into the storytelling thing. I can name 2 villains from the show, the crone and the worm, right?
Yep.
Okay, here's my challenge to you, CN, having watched the same series as me. Can you name any of the hunter characters that were chasing them for the entirety of the show?
I don't think they gave them names.
That is wrong. They do have names according to the IMDb, and I was like, they never once said this on the show ever. How would anybody know that? Yeah, no. You know who you've got? You've got Guy in a Cage.
Yeah.
And you have Ivan Ooze henchman.
Okay, yeah.
And you've got Saruman Light. I'm sorry. So, yeah, Saruman Light, which is like the dark dude who like can cast spells and like has the staff thing and can infect people. He's the necromancer. And then you've got Sauron Light, which is the dude who doesn't have the full covering. He's only got like the half covering and you can see his face. He's essentially the bat that smiles. I was like, okay. And by the way, all those people, are they alive? I don't know. Did they die? I don't know. Because Boromon fights them off scene for some reason. Cylindria's wand is this huge MacGuffin in the show. Like, it's super important and very needed. By the way, you don't need it.
MacGuffin in the original movie.
Yeah. By the way, you don't need it.
Snap.
You can just cast it from your hands. It'll be fine. You'll be fine. Just do the thing. Just do it.
Oh yeah, that light show was hilarious to me.
Yeah, the light show. Why is Elora Danan doing like sexy lightning?
Why is she doing weird twirls and spins?
She's feeling up her body, like touching the corset and then shooting lightning. I was like, I even wrote it down. I was like, sexy lightning? What's happening? Also, so the cuirass, I thought was a cool magical item. I thought that it was way more badass when it was the wooden cup from the Last Crusade, and way less badass when it became Iron Maiden. It was essentially Iron Man, but medieval Iron Man. Even down to it shoots an assassin's blade, but not an assassin's blade. It's like a long sword. Like, what are we doing right now? Like, what? This wasn't even talked about. It's supposed to be a protective item, and it's like, nah, this ain't protective anymore. Now it's an offensive weapon. You think it?
Suit of armor.
Yeah, you think it? The cuirass makes it happen.
There was just a lot going on in this series that I applaud and then I just frown upon, to be completely honest. And I worry that as much as I kind of want to see what else they do or how, especially the way it ended, I kind of want to see a sequel, second season. But I have a huge suspicion that it might just get canceled because of how poorly it did in the first season.
I honestly don't think it's going to get canceled, because if it was going to get canceled, right, Disney Plus, and a lot of people might know this, they go in and they edit their stuff after the fact. So like if there's something that they didn't like, for example, they can cut it. Like, they'll just go in. Like, you know what? We forgot to add person with a cape flying towards Wanda. Let's go ahead and add it in the after credits for WandaVision. So they can manipulate things. Even down to something that I would love to see. I'm going to go into that in just a second. But if they didn't want there to be more volumes, then they would not have shown the books at the end. They would have just cut that scene.
I don't know, man. I've seen some situations where like it was blatantly supposed to be a sequel and they just did not do it.
I also have a feeling that they've recorded more already. Like, they started shooting because it's a way to save money. And Bob 1, not Bob 2, who just got relieved, but Bob 1, who was the Bob before at Disney. Now that he's back, I have a feeling that they'll change that. But also, this is the Thor Love and Thunder thing that I was talking about. Chris Hemsworth does not want to return as the Thor that was in Love and Thunder. Because even for him, it was a little too goofy.
Yeah.
And not grounded enough. And I feel like Willow faces the same problem. I think that it has potential to be really great. But it needs some finessing and some editing. And it needs somebody to really just sit down and like lay out a story path. Like, here's what we're going to do. We got to change some of the shifting around. We have to slow our pace a little bit. A little bit where it counts and a little less where it doesn't count. For example, a lot of people aren't going to realize that in that penultimate episode where they're on the Mudmander, that's supposed to be like a couple months' journey. Did you realize that?
I expected it maybe a couple weeks. I didn't see a couple months.
It apparently takes them about 2 to 3 months. That's how long they were on that skiff going over the endless sea.
Interesting.
So, and sorry, I want to circle back real quick to that edit thing of like what I would love to see Disney Plus do. This is the only time that we have ever lived in a generation where you can do this. You, Disney, have the power to let Kang win at something and then change every movie on your platform. Every show, every movie in like some minor or subtle way to show that Kang has messed up the entire timeline. And you can leave them that way until the conclusion of the Kang story and then just reset them back to what they were. Because that would be so incredible to me. I'd be like, just take the money. You win. I don't know how anybody could ever top that.
That would be a huge stretch trying to bring Kang the Conqueror from the MCU to manipulate everything from Disney.
No, just picture it. Like, picture Back to the Future 2, but on this huge grand scheme where like you're watching the Avengers, but like you can see Kang doing shit in the back. I'd be like, this is exactly what I wanted. But Willow was not exactly what I wanted. I think that it could be better, and I hope that it gets the shot to do it. I did like the fact that the unseen hero remained the hero, and that is Mad Mardigan. Which, of course, if Val Kilmer does recover, I think he'll be back because I don't know where he's at. He's trapped. They made him like in another dimension thing, which I thought was kind of a cool, like, okay, well, he's not really dead, but like he's not really alive.
I applaud the attempt. I applaud the show. I might go back and rewatch them again. There might be some little hidden stuff that I might have missed, or there might be some sort of story elements that I just didn't put 2 and 2 together on, but I know I can speak for Joe. We definitely want to have a conversation with you guys to see if you guys agree with us. I mean, it's everybody has their own voice, but we definitely want to hear from you guys. Just leave it in the comments below. Let us know what you thought of the show. Overall, we liked it. It's just it had some major problems that needed to get corrected. Hopefully, if they do a second season, it gets corrected in the second season.
I just want to throw this out there. The pink slime from Ghostbusters 2, I think, was kind of cool, but like seeing it in the Willow movies was kind of weird. I was like, okay, so it was
orange.
They're drinking the pink slime, man. They were drinking it. Like, you don't do that. Like, you get dipped in it and you change who you are, but you don't drink. Nobody was trying to drink that pink slime.
Well, he drank it and it changed who he was,
Yeah,
but
I mean, it happens to the best of us.
While you're down there, just make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. That notification bell's there for you to let you know when we post new episodes. But that's all the time we got, guys. So I guess we will catch you later. Peace.